Intertalk Radio, you're in to all things music.
Welcome to Intersect Radio, where music, faith, and life converge. With your host, Aaron the A-Train Smith.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Intersect Radio. It's Tuesday again, and I'm here in a nice cool basement. It is so hot outside here in Nashville today, but I'm really comfy here, and I'd like to thank Cedric on the other end there in San Diego for stepping up today and being our engineer. And thank you to Pitbull Audio and all the people who support Intertalk Radio, Studio Instrument Rentals, and to my drumstick company. I'd like to say a big shout out. And thank you. I'll see you guys tomorrow over at Innovative Percussion. Got to get some wood, Kevin. That's my guest, Mr. Kevin Max. He's over on the other end there, chilling, like
What's
feeling
happening
today. Not much, man. It's your world. You're happening here today on Intersect.
Yes. I'm just a passenger.
Enjoy the ride, baby. Enjoy the ride. You know, I was listening to last week's conversation. And we pretty much covered a lot about your childhood and school days and getting into DC Talk and what that experience was like. I was thinking today we could start at the making of Supernatural and then move on from there. What do you think?
I think it's up to you.
Well, there you have it.
I'm happy to talk about anything, man. I actually like to talk about stuff that people don't like to talk about. That's my specialty, you know. Let's just talk about the stuff that makes people uncomfortable and feeling awkward, you know.
What would that be? I'm game.
Oh, man, there's a plethora of subjects, you know. We could talk about Trump. That could take up some time.
Oh, dude, please. Let's not go there. General Stonewall Sessions is on TV.
Supernatural. You know, I got to go back to 1998, 99-ish and think about that. But I think we talked about it in the last conversation, but we started making that record when we were invited to Miles Copeland's castle in France. Mm-hmm. He has like a chateau, and he invites everybody out, and he invites different bands and writers to come out and kind of mix and mingle and write together. So it's a very collaborative kind of vibe. And we wrote My Friend So Long and It's Killing Me, which were the first two songs written for Supernatural with Sting's guitar player Dominic Miller and Mark Hudson of the Hudson Brothers. And that was the beginning of Supernatural. And then we came back to Nashville and wrote amongst ourselves. I mean, Supernatural was written, all three of us wrote on every song. There were different writers here and there on that album, but for the most part, it was Toby, Mike, and I coming up with the tunes on that record. And yeah, I mean, my favorite song on that record is Dive. I just loved playing that live, and I love the idea of that song and the imagery in it. Kind of had that Euro vibe that I love.
Okay. Did you sing lead on that?
Well, yeah, I sang lead on all of them, man. And, you know, one way or the other.
Yeah.
We you know, DC Talk, we all took turns singing lead. So it's always like, you know, wait around and you'll hear one of us at some point.
So you make Supernatural, you go on tour, and then you come home and you decide that maybe it's time to take a break. Is that the way it happened?
That's a nice way of putting it. Well, I mean, you know, as all bands go through these times, these turbulent times where, you know, you've spent decades together and you just kind of feel like you want a little freedom. I feel like, you know, the beginning of Supernatural on the road was kind of like, it honestly felt like it was a great tour, but I feel like we were just kind of, for the first time, really kind of understanding what we wanted to do as separate artists musically. And I think that, you know, we definitely pushed each other's buttons a little bit, but I wasn't anything, you know, massive or anything strange like, you know, massive breakup arguments or anything like that. I mean, it was just like living on the road with three guys for decades and, you know, just kind of finally going, man, it'd be cool to kind of do something different. And I think the murmurings of that, you know, started kind of with me thinking, man, it'd be cool to make this crazy Euro rock record when we get off the road. And that became a subject, and I kind of moved towards doing it. But with the idea that we would come back together after we did solo albums, and we all agreed, hey, let's do one, you know, go of solo albums, the three of us. And actually we decided to put 2 songs from each solo album on a project, which became DC Talk Solo. That actually won a Grammy, of all things, that actual album. So, but there's nothing, you know, that I can tell you that is dramatic or, you know, people will want to write about it or sensational, or slanderous. nothing
well, you know,
really bad. Just, you know, we're 3 dudes that just got a little bit tired of being on the road together all the time and needed a break. And, strangely enough, I'm hanging out at Michael Tate's house tonight. I'm going over there and, cause we're flying out in the morning, all 3 of us with our manager, Dan Pitts, to, go see a show in Tampa. And, so we're still buddies, and we still love each other like brothers. And, you know, this cruise that we're about to do is just kind of, it's been years in the making, but hey man, we're here now 15 years later, and we're excited to do something, you know?
That's great. That's great. You know, I had an experience, a band breakup experience, and, there were a lot of buttons being pushed, and it was such a bad breakup that, it'll never get together again. It is done.
Yeah, I know about those.
Man,
I have several
it's so
friends
hard,
that have
so much
been
heartbreak.
through. Yeah, I have several friends that have been through lots of band breakups, and they're never fun. I mean, you know, it's like, but the thing about a band breakup is you're usually not, you know, having to deal with kids. You know, it's just you and your guitar, and you go play for somebody else. But yeah, I mean, DC Talk, we, you know, after the solo albums, we didn't come back together, and there were probably several reasons for that. But mainly, I think we had just kind of tapped out what we could do together creatively, and we needed a break, and that's why we called it the intermission. And that's why it wasn't like we've broken up. It's more like we're taking a break and we're doing our own things for a little bit. And that obviously became 15 years of us all doing solo music. You know, it is what it is. And I wouldn't do it any other way, actually. I've had an amazing, you know, decade and a half of solo music, solo albums, touring, and being able to do what I want to do as an artist, which is always fulfilling, you know. And but hey, I'm not going to say that I wouldn't want to get back and do another DC Talk record, because I think that would be amazing right now to see what we could actually come up with.
Yeah, it would be. Maybe during rehearsals and for the cruise and stuff, you'll something will happen. You never know.
You never know.
All right. Speaking of your solo career, your first solo album was Stereotype B.
Yes.
And you had Adrian Belew and Tony Levin working with you. That's pretty cool. Why those guys?
Yes, and Matt Chamberlain. Matt Chamberlain on drums. Never forget Matt.
Yeah, Matt Chamberlain. Yeah.
Don't forget the drummer, man.
No, I didn't know. I didn't forget him. I just didn't know. What was that like, man? I mean, who put those guys together for you?
Well, Adrian and I had met at one of his shows, and his wife, Martha Belew, you know, she knew my voice, and she knew kind of what I was up to through the grapevine. And she was like, man, you should have my husband produce your record. He just produced Jars of Clay, and it was a great record. And he produced Flood, and Flood was a huge hit. And, you know, you need a huge hit. Let him produce you. He'd love to. And so Adrian and I started talking and hanging out, and we quickly became really close friends. And I don't know, Adrian and I just click. I think it's the Midwest thing. You know, we both were brought up in the Midwest, but we're both like zany, creative people. So we got along real quick. And I said, okay, well, let's build the perfect band, you know, to do this album. I mean, who's your choice? You know, he said, well, Tony Levin. And I said, well, I want Matt Chamberlain on drums. And then of course I brought my longtime partner, guitar, Eric Cole, into the mix, and William Owsley as well. And, man, it was killer, man. It was Tony Levin was the consummate pro. You know, he'd show up every day, know every part, and then he would like practice other parts while we were all lounging around. He would be walking around practicing parts and coming up with other things, and then painting, and he would draw, he would illustrate, you know, in the corner. And he drew a picture of me looking like John Lennon, which I thought was amazing. And he said, you know, some of this stuff reminds me of John Lennon, and that was a huge compliment. And then he told me the story and actually played it for me on his computer, John Lennon basically saying, we never had bass like that back in the day, talking about Tony Levin and his sessions with John on Double Fantasy. And so he had that recorded somewhere, John saying that. And I think he used it for his answering machine at one point too. But
wow,
it was great because he was taking a slam at Paul too. So, it's, you know, just amazing to hang out with those dudes.
Yeah. Where did you record?
Ocean Way, right there in Belmont, man. Ocean Way Studios, off of Music Row.
So how was Stereotype B received by the critics and stuff?
Yeah, it was an interesting album because I don't think it catered to anybody really. It did what we wanted to do, and that was, you know, my style at that time was very, very Eurocentric, and it didn't really play to the CCM, and it didn't really play to the general market. So it was just kind of like this odd, bizarre rock alternative pop album. some critics loved it. You know, I got great reviews in USA Today and things like that. And then other critics just thought it was, you know, just too weird for its own good. And I'd say like
really?
CCM kind of CCM really didn't throw their arms around it because there wasn't any real big radio sounding song as far as Christian music went. I mean, Existence did well. Existence was played on the radio quite a bit. But you know, I was writing songs like Allison and the Secret Circle. And, you know, there's a song on there called Deconstructing Venus and Her Game. And a lot of songs about relationships I'd been through, situations I've been through as a dude, and not necessarily songs for the church. And I think that kind of, you know, mystified people, angered them, or just kind of was like, what is this guy doing? He's a Christian artist. Why is he writing songs about girls, you know, or relationships or.
Yeah, that path would get you in trouble in CCM.
Yes, and I think it did. But the strange thing is that even though I was writing about relationships and things that I've gone through, you know, there was that spiritual element to everything that I wrote. And so, I mean, it still had that connection to my faith, but not so much that the CCM embraced it,
right?
As they say.
But you knew where it was coming from, but it wasn't so obvious to certain other people.
Yeah, I think it was a little too poetic for its own good, you know, lyrically. It was drawing a lot of, strange Picasso-like paintings lyrically, as opposed to, you know, Thomas Kinkade. You know, the world wanted Thomas Kinkade, and I was giving them Picasso, and so it just didn't work. You know?
That's a great analogy. I like that. Well, we're coming up on a break here, and before we go, I'd just like to really thank you. I know you're busy, and you got to doing a big hang tomorrow, and thank you for taking the time. Big hang. And thank you to Pitbull Audio and Studio Instrument Rentals. Thank you, all you folks who are listening. We'll be right back.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al DiMeola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Welcome to Intersect Radio, where music, faith, and life converge. With your host, Aaron the A-Train Smith.
Shifts the box, we rocket past those vacant spots. Glitter in the sky so raw. When in her web you cross the miles. Her gaze it burns through blackest holes. By her side with breathless style. It's the call of the wild in you, and all the desperate lies. I'm tranquilized all night by the girl with the tiger eyes. Yeah, it's the call of the wild in me, the surrender in my sides. It's a deadly situation.
We're back, folks, with my guest, Mr. Kevin Max. We were talking about his first solo recording, Stereotype B. And Kevin, I was just thinking, do you think your association with CCM has been a good thing or a bad thing for your solo career?
Wow, it's a loaded question because, I mean, I think it's been good and bad, but I think it's just traditionally the music industry. It's never perfect, you know. As a person of faith, like I enjoy being able to write about my faith from now and then and be able to get a catalyst for it and put it out there. And that's when I enjoy, you know, my connections to the CCM world, because, you know, it's a great vehicle for you know, Christian rock music, Christian pop music, whatever. But when I do, you know, more general market type stuff, or when I'm doing something that's a bit more abstract, I think that for whatever reason the industry just doesn't really embrace that. And I kind of connect it to the same thing like pop music or top 40 radio over the years. I mean, top 40 radio in the 80s was definitely interesting because you had lots of different bands, lots of different sounding bands, a lot of different ideas happening on top 40 radio. But as radio progressed through the 90s and then through the 2000s, it just seemed to take on so much more of a corporate, you know, blasé, and it's not now your bands all sound the same. And when somebody tries to do something different, I mean, there's no chance of that person getting on the radio. And so as an artist that's a writer, I have to think about those things when I'm writing for an album. And case in point, I'm getting ready to work on another original album, and I literally wrote a song, you know, with CCM radio in mind, and we pushed it out just last week. And it's a song called Plans, and it sounds like Christian radio. It's not something that I know how to do by myself. I had to actually co-write with a couple of people, you know. And co-writing, it's a strange word, right? Co-writing. It's a bit bizarre. But
hey, you said you had a good report last week. What is MPE?
MPE is when you send a MP3 out to radio programmers and people in radio that they're able to listen to it and figure out if they want to put it on their add it to their rotation, you know. And I've had a couple of people add this song Plans to their rotation already, and it's been really great. But you know, I never know how it's going to go, because that's not typically what I do. And I think a lot of people are looking at me going, well, what's he trying to do? Getting songs played on K-Love. But that's just who I am. I'm a multifaceted machine that kicks out all sorts of different styles. I'm not a limited to anything really. And if the mood strikes me, then I might just create this pop song and throw it out there. But specifically the song Plans, I mean, it was really my story right now, what's going on in my life. I felt like, this is a song that's talking about how, we wander around not knowing what's going to happen next. But when you kind of surrender to that and realize that God's got your back, and that He's already planned things for you, there's a peace in that. And so I wanted to kind of relate that to people, because that's what I'm going through right now. For years and years, tried to do it my way, as Frank Sinatra once sang.
But you're still doing stuff, How do you distinguish between kind of waiting on God and moving forward, doing things?
Yeah, it's I think you just have to go with the Spirit, and I feel like it's that's something different than your gut, because I feel like once you pray earnestly for that feeling in the Spirit, it happens. Until those earnest prayers, you're just kind of left on your own. And I've been on my own for years and left to my own devices, and I've created some really great records, but I don't know if they've touched people like I want them to. I want music to be able to connect to people in different ways, and not just be self-serving, because music can be very self-serving. I mean, as an artist, you can write an album for yourself and not many people get it, or you can write a song that you throw out there and you want it to communicate and you want it to connect with people. And so that's really the interesting kind of back and forth ping pong that I've gone through as an artist. Some albums are self-reflective, a little bit, maybe a little bit narcissistic, and then other records are like, hey, I really want to connect with everyone and tell them what's going on,
That's great. So that was the impetus to your realizing that you just had to rest and pray and rely on God to guide you and show you the way, what direction you should take.
In a nutshell, but there was other things. Yeah, there was other things that happened. I mean, there was a series of events that got me to that place, and I had a friend of mine that literally just kind of said, God gave me something to tell you, and you call it a prophecy or whatever you call it. But I mean, she had a word for me that when she told it to me, it really changed a lot of things in my heart and a lot of things in my mind. And I really went after this thought of, chasing after God as opposed to waiting for Him to chase after me, because, yeah.
Cool.
In a nutshell.
Yeah, in a nutshell. Okay. All right. Well, tell us, you've been involved in a lot of things, like you said last week, that people don't know about, your acting career and stuff like that. And weren't you asked to audition for Journey?
Well, first of all, let me just say, acting career is not really what I had.
Okay.
I would call it a very short-lived pop into the world of acting to see if I could do what I thought I could do.
Did you like it?
And I did. I really did. I did. I grew up, acting in theater in high school and college, and it was something that, I wanted to do. And I actually had done a film before that that was never released. We actually shot in Ohio for a movie that was never released. So I did get some experience being in front of the camera. And then, of course, you know, I'd done a lot of stage acting, and man, I'd been through countless videos with DC Talk and solo. So I kind of know my way around being in front of a camera. And so I thought, you know, this is no big deal. I mean, acting is no big deal. I can do this, you know. And so I kind of threw out my best James Dean in this movie, The Imposter. And it was great. It was a trial and error situation for me to try to figure out, hey, what is acting, you know, and how can I make it? How can I become a great actor? And so it was a great exercise. But let's just say I'm back to making music. So, you know, if the acting thing comes up and it makes sense, I'll grab it. But to answer your other question, yes, I was asked to audition for Journey, and I turned it down like an idiot, or maybe like a really smart guy, depending.
Yeah, depending. Why?
Well, I mean, it started with John Kolodner showing up to my gigs at Viper Room in Los Angeles, and I started noticing him. I'd done several shows in Viper Room, and I started noticing him hanging around, and he would always dress all in white, you know, and he kind of looked like John Lennon if John hadn't have died and kept going. So, you know, he was intriguing to me, and I heard, you know, who he was, and he decided to talk to me one morning and ask me and my manager, you know, would I be interested in auditioning for Journey? And at that time, I had just, you know, completed my second solo album and wanted to jump right into the third, and I wasn't really interested in singing for another band, and I wasn't a huge Journey fan, so I was kind of like, and again, I mean, I'm a new waver, you know. I grew up on The Cure and Duran Duran and Roxy Music. The Journey wasn't really in my wheelhouse, you know. Even though the wheel in the sky kept on turning. Oh, that was bad. Sorry. But I just, I said no, but then he came back a little bit after that and asked me about Foreigner, and I said, well, okay, I'll audition for Foreigner. And I went into a studio, and we did 4 or 5 songs, sent them to Foreigner, and I got a phone call from Mick Jones, who literally told me he loved my voice, but asked if I could sing more like Lou Gramm. And I told him I don't think that's possible, but I can give it, you know, a college try. And I tried and failed miserably at sounding like Lou Gramm. Failed.
Everybody's living for the weekend, you know. Yeah, I bet you did.
And
you know, go on.
Oh, so I was going to say that's Loverboy, though. I think, right?
Oh, that's right.
I don't know.
Everybody's living for the weekend. Is that Loverboy?
That's Loverboy. Working for the weekend. Yeah. I dug Loverboy, kind of, you know.
Yeah, it just makes me think of MTV. You know,
Foreigner was like a machine, man. They were a hit machine, you know.
Yeah. You, I want to know what love is.
Yes.
Okay.
I do too. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, you know, tell us what it must have been fun playing a drug addict in The Imposter.
Yes.
Because that's very abstract. So I think you enjoyed that. Did you not?
I did, but I didn't know what it was like to be somebody dependent on Oxycontin, which is basically what that drug was supposed to signify in the movie. So it was difficult. I had to ask a friend who had actually went through it. I said, you know, what's it like being, you know, totally high on Oxycontin? He kind of explained it to me, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I can probably do that. But it was intriguing, and it was definitely not the easiest role to take on the first time in film. I think I could have done a lot better at it, but I mean, man, it was my first try film, and I'm not going to say I did great, but I'm not going to say I failed either. So it's somewhere in between complete failure and genius was that role.
Okay.
But I had
it's a thin line there.
It was a very thin line. The director wouldn't let me watch my dailies. I mean, he wouldn't let me watch any of the stuff that I was doing, which was very difficult for me, because as a first-time, film actor, not being able to see what you're doing really bothered me, And so I think if he would have let me see what I was doing in the dailies, or at least let me look at a couple of cuts here and there, I would have known, oh, you need to be making this face, or you need to be standing this way, or you need to have more of a pause. But he just didn't. He didn't let me do that for whatever reason. Really,
maybe
annoying.
He had a different. Yeah, maybe you were giving him what he wanted.
Possible. I never thought about that. But, I mean, I have had people tell me that they thought I did a really good job, but there are also people that support my music, so I think they're lying to me. There's a chance that he thought that if he showed you what you were doing, that you would come back and critique yourself and change I probably would have ran. I probably wouldn't have done
and do what you thought you should be doing, and make the faces you thought you should be making. And,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, he could have been
giving him what he wanted.
Right. Yeah, he was probably right for a first-time actress to get, and then try to do something, that they're not used to doing. Yeah, maybe he was right. Anyways, moving on.
Okay. All right. I didn't know you had been an actor until I read your bio. But there's been a lot of time between the heyday of CCM here in Nashville up to now, and I really lost contact with a lot of people because life changes, you go through different things, and it takes a different turn, and luckily you get back to where you were, but sometimes you don't. But we're going to take a break right now, folks, and we'll be back with my guest, Mr. Kevin Max.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear, host of Sound Experience here on InterTalk Radio. And Source Connect by Source Element is the essential tool that we use to link between my studio in Austin, Texas, and the WS radio station in San Diego. Now, with Source Connect, not only can we communicate in real time and with HD audio, but it's synced up and is of a high enough quality that I can use it for real-time ADR work, remote recording, and overdubbing, and it even allows me to remotely control a DAW. Source Connect by Source Element. Affordable, high-quality audio and video connection over the internet for all of your production needs.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on InterTalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on InterTalkRadio.com.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Welcome to Intersect Radio, where music, faith, and life converge. With your host, Aaron the A-Train Smith.
Take a step of faith and let you take a lead. Knowing I don't know what you know. You know. 'Cause you know the plans. When you hold it in your hands. You know the plans you have for me, that you have for me. And you know the plans. When you hold it in your hands.
That's Plans by my guest today, Mr. Kevin Max, his latest release. Great sounding record, great lyrics. If they're not playing it in your hometown, you need to get on the phone and call your stations and tell them to
Or
add
not,
that
because
now.
like programmers hate that. Programmers hate that. Fans calling in and bugging them, you know.
We used to do that in the old days. You know?
I know.
Just bug them
Right.
to death. You know, one phone call after the other. Take on different personas and voices.
I know. It
Yeah.
just doesn't work like that anymore. It doesn't work like that.
Oh, you just email them now, right? Text message. Email.
Yeah, and they don't like to be
Yeah.
bothered because they're like in their little office or their little caves, and they're like they've already made up their mind. So don't bother.
Are they still just putting in cassettes with
I don't think
music
so.
already? You know.
I don't think so, but I could be wrong. I mean, wouldn't that be great though? Like if we're still on that system, you know, all those cassettes.
You know, they used to have all that music, you know, on some big something. I guess it was a big tape machine or cassette or something, and the music would just play, and they just sit there and make sure, you know, the machine worked and had the commercials on it and everything, you know. But okay, your poetry I want to talk about.
Okay.
That was obviously another outlet for you to express yourself beyond songwriting. And
Yes.
And had you did you have a collection of poetry that you just decided to release in book form, or was there a time when you went, well, I should be writing poetry? And go that route, and try that route.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like that, because you know I grew up reading a lot, and I grew up loving poetry. Actually, I was the nerd kid that loved new wave and poetry. So, you know, and I'd wear makeup and have strange hairstyles, and you know, people thought that I was from Japan or something. And they're like, "Who is
you
this
wore
guy?"
makeup?
I wore some makeup. Yeah.
Like daily?
I was not daily, but you know, like if I was on stage or something, you know, I'd put a little bit of bass on, because like back in the day, you know, when Duran Duran was so huge and Bowie was so huge, you know, it was just kind of what you did, you know. Unless you were a punk rocker, or unless you were a metal guy, or unless you were like, you know, hardcore R&B, I guess. I mean, maybe you wouldn't, but,
right.
You know, the new wave, us new wavers we were in touch with our feminine side, I think. But,
yeah. Yin yang.
But
you're yin yang.
But, you know, I always loved poetry, and I'd always like jot down strange poems and it would bother my mother. She'd be like, what is this about? Are you okay? And so that progressed to trying to get my poems read by different people. And that progressed to being, kind of like a frustrated poet in a hip hop band named DC Talk. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to put out a poetry book. And I had a bunch of poems written already. And my friend Jimmy Abag was a painter. And I was like, all right, well, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put poems to paintings and put it out in book form, And so when DC Talk, I can't remember what year that was, probably like 93 or so. But when we did that, we were at the table signing autographs for DC Talk stuff. And then I had my poetry book there. And it really bothered Toby and Mike. It was like, what's the deal with your poetry book? I'm like, I'm just, it's kind of the thing. And a lot of people enjoyed that book.
Yeah, was it on the merch table?
It was actually on the merch table. And the book looked so good because Buddy Jackson, who's a great artist in Nashville, Tennessee, actually did all the design and the layout and everything. It was one of the coolest looking books ever, sitting next to our records. And so people were, of course, were intrigued. And so I guess, that's the first time I kind of went solo. So I kind of went solo within the band as the band were still together, which is probably not great for like relations, but the guys were nice enough to let me do it and just kind of let me have my little pet project. And they were like, okay, well, he's doing his poetry thing, So strangely enough, then I was actually, because it was so good, they let me put poems on the ends of Jesus Freak album and Supernatural album. So
really?
Something was right. Because then I did spoken word on Jesus Freak, or The Last My Love. We put a poem on there, and then we put a poem on Treason at Sea on Supernatural. So
did you ever do any?
It worked out.
Did you do that live ever during the DC Talk show?
I don't think we ever did it live. No.
Okay.
I would be standing in the dressing room every night, just thinking, man, one of these nights, Toby's going to ask me to do it. It's going to be awesome. But it never happened.
So you kept your book close to your side. Hey, tell me about Fiefdom of Angels. Did you finish that yet?
Yes. I love how you ask these questions. I love it. Did you finish that yet? Yes, it was published, Aaron. It's been published and out there for people to buy. In fact, it's on iTunes right now. You can go listen to it on audiobook,
Well, there you have it.
But
that's great.
Fiefdom of Angels was a book that I wrote when I was in between records, and I just had this crazy dream vision. I wrote it into a poem, and then I read the poem out loud to myself, and I thought, man, this would make a great book. And then I sat down and I wrote this, 400-page poem about angels. And that sealed the deal, I think, for people out there that already thought I was crazy, because then when they realized I'd done that, they were like, yeah, he's certifiable. Yep.
Right when we're done today, I'm going upstairs and I'm going to listen to that book.
Yes, I have a copy for you that I will give to you. So when you're on the boat doing shows, that you can lay by the pool and read Fiefdom of Angels, and just it's a little bit of a push for me marketing wise to have you reading it in public.
Yeah. What are you reading there?
Kevin Max.
Book? Reading Max, man. Get hit. Okay, speaking of the cruise, let's tell people about that, because that's coming up real soon. And how are you guys advertising that?
Well, I don't know if you've been privy to social media when it went down, but the announcement didn't go very well because I think people were expecting something quite different. And so they built it up. Like 15 years, they're back. This is the announcement. And then they announced that it was a cruise. I think it shattered a lot of people's dreams and made people a little angry and got under some people's skin. Then other people just said, meh, whatever. But, the people that really wanted to be on the boat, the boat filled up, and we're going to have a really great time, and we're performing. I would say it's definitely a hits performance where we're playing the bigger songs, and and each of us solo are going to perform, and then Toby, his label Goatee with his cousin Joey, they've got a few of the Goatee artists on the boat as well to fill in different performances and whatnot. So it's a really great, it's a fun group of people. Michael and the Newsboys, Toby Mac, and the Mac is back, no slack on the attack. Kevin Max, the strange one, the eccentric poet, and then of course DC Talk.
Yeah, it's killer. So you think people were expecting a tour?
I think people are expecting more than a cruise, but this is the starting point. This is you've got to push off somewhere. It's got to be you can't just immediately jump into a tour without some kind of prep, And this is our prep. It's like we're able to perform in some kind of close circumstances. Don't have to have a lot of production. It's just going to be fun. So we wanted the first experience to be really fun, Then we can get to working. Then we can roll our sleeves up and go after 250 shows a year.
Yeah. All right. So, I want you, if you don't mind, to let the people know just what you're doing tomorrow.
Yes. Well, I'm getting on a plane with a couple of different guys, friends of mine. We've been together for years and years and years. We're going to see this band called U2 and a band called One Republic. And I happen to be friends with one of the guys in One Republic. And I think we're going to be backstage at some point, which is going to be awesome because I've never been able to really sit down and talk to the members of U2, and this time I want to. This time, I'm probably going to wait until the end of the show because then the end of the show is a little bit easier to talk than before the show. Don't you agree? As an artist, what do you think's the best time to talk? Like it's afterwards, right?
Right. Yeah, because before the show, that's all you're thinking about.
Yeah. So afterwards, I'm going to see if Adam Clayton wants to hang out. I'm just going to be like, "Hey, Adam, let's go hang out, dude. It's Tampa. Let's go chill.
Let's go get a Guinness."
Yeah, Tampa's got a great scene. Surely they're not leaving that evening. They can soak it up a little bit. And so that's what's happening, and I'm going to be on my Instagram. If you go to Sir Kevin Max, no, I have not really been knighted, but if you go to Sir Kevin Max, that's my Instagram. So you'll be able to see, behind the scenes in real time.
Killer. What time does that start?
I think it's about 8:00 tomorrow night. Is when
Eastern
the good stuff starts.
Standard time. Yes.
Tampa time.
Hey, man. Yeah. Well, I wish I was going to be there with you. A fly on the wall, as they say. That's a great opportunity.
But you can through Instagram. You can.
Yeah.
I use my phone as a recording device.
Yes. Yeah. I'll try it out. It's not the same, but I'll try it out. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for doing 2 shows with me, and I've learned more about you
pleasure.
than I ever knew.
I'm a fan, so I had to do it. I'm a fan.
Oh. Well, that's cool. I'm glad you're a fan, because it kind of reflects some abstract thing about my personality, maybe.
Absolutely.
And I don't show that too much, but I'm glad you saw it.
You need to more often.
Yeah, I need to more often. Well, thanks, man. And say hello to the fellas for me tomorrow. Look forward to seeing you when you get back.
I will. I'll text you if you get a good
Okay.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al DiMeola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time, or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.